Ladies, gentlemen, folks beyond the binary, grab your husband, wife, partner, mistress, a couple of uncomfortable employees at an equestrian store, and gather around the radio. It's time for this week's meeting of the Erotic Thriller Club.
Not rude or crude, he's always tastefully nude. In this hardcore world, he's a softcore dude. His antithesis, mysterious and dangerous. And oh yes, they've got all the sexiest movies out on VHS. So if you're fatally attracted to the racier stuff, erotic film club. Basically, instinctively crave the salacious. Erotic Film Club. If you want a racy movie and you're too classy for smut, Erotic Film Club. We can watch them and discuss them all ad nauseam. Erotic Film Club.
Picture this. You're in New York City in 1984. A much less scary New York City than the Meat and Fire District of Fatal Attraction or the Gotham City hellscape of In the Cut. You're a criminally attractive woman who meets a criminally attractive man. Does he almost immediately throw up some red flags? Sure. But what's the worst that could happen? You become an emotionally battered slave to love? What the hell? Throw on a soundtrack of 80s bangers and give it a try. This week on the Erotic Thriller Club, 9.5 weeks. Hello, friends. This week's meeting of the Erotic Thriller Club is now in session. As always, you're here with Garrett Callender and Kit Ryan.
And this is where we answer the genre's three most important questions. Was I aroused? Was I thrilled? And would I ruin my life for this person?
This week, we're joined by director, cinematographer, and lady who understood the assignment, Hiyam Abousaid.
Well,
Welcome
hello,
to the show.
hello. Thank you for having me.
So I have to know, you chose 9.5 weeks for us.
I
Please,
did.
do tell where your thought process was on that one.
Well, I saw it in my 20s, and I honestly can't remember the circumstances, but it stuck in my head, I think for obvious reasons. And when Garrett told me about this podcast, I thought, well, I've got the perfect movie for you.
You were not wrong.
No, you're right. And we've been letting the guests choose the movie, other than one friend who unfortunately got stuck with a real pile of dog shit um, from Papa Garrett's treasure trove of dog shit. But this one, you nailed it. I had not
Mhm.
seen this movie. I didn't read the description going in. I just let it happen to me. And
Just like our protagonist.
Touche.
seriously, maybe the two most attractive people in any movie we've watched so far.
They are
Mm.
insanely attractive, yes.
This
This
is
was
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
sorry, this was Mickey Rourke, pre The Wrestler. I would say he's a little better looking in 9.5 weeks. Still
Yeah,
outstanding performances all around.
absolutely. You know, I don't want to make fun of the way somebody looks, and I don't
Mhm.
feel good about doing so.
Absolutely.
However,
Especially, you mean someone who has a plastic surgery addiction, and they have that plastic surgery addiction because they had like a substance abuse problem, and then because of the substance abuse problem, they couldn't get jobs anymore, and so they had to fight people for money, and then it screwed up their face, and so then they had to have a plastic surgery addiction. Is that what you're talking about, Garrett? The type of person you don't want to make fun of?
yes, it is that exact person. However, this movie takes place at a time before he went to a plastic surgeon and said, "Give me the Globey." If you remember Globey from Pee-wee's Playhouse, that's all I can.
Fuck you, Garrett.
I haven't thought of it in like 20 years, but I
And
do
now
know what
I
you're talking about.
can't unthink it. Thanks for that.
He actually hit a point where him and Sylvester Stallone's mom look almost identical. Uh, I don't know. This feels bad to say. I don't know if you know anything about Sylvester Stallone's mom. Towards
Not
the
a
end of her
single
life,
thing. Why would I know
No.
she
about Sylvester Stallone's mom?
she was doing fortune telling by you know how, like, palm reading, but she was doing ass readings.
What? That's
What?
amazing. This this woman may be like a kindred spirit to my soul, and I wish I had known her. I found my twin flame only to lose her.
It's an admirable profession. I just, you know, you don't
I
know many people, and especially, like, it turns out everybody in that family's talented. Uh,
I have to ask, how do you read an ass?
I don't
well,
know. I think it once you get older,
yeah, there's got
you
to be
know,
some,
there's more lines, maybe. I don't know.
lines, veins, maybe a mole or two. Some people got them cute little dimples in the butt
Right?
cheek. That's got to mean something. I don't know what, because I didn't go to school for buttology, butt mystery. It's like palmistry. No, that's not working. I got nothing.
My imagination is running wild, I just gotta say. Without having any more information about what a butt reading is, now I'm gonna imagine all sorts of things.
Good, good.
Is the anus involved?
It must be right.
You
I
mean
I think
like
it's
this
gotta
man
be.
we talked about in 9.5 weeks that paints with his anus?
What a wild aside. I have to say, I love when we get a random dinner party scene in one of these because it's always just to establish that, like, this is a normal person who has a normal life and normal friends, and look how fun they are at parties. And then, like, you end up fucking Nick Cage in the basement on the washing machine during the dinner party. Or in this case, discussing a painter who paints with a paintbrush in his ass cheeks. A cool dinner party conversation. I love it.
I somehow missed that. I think because I was busy thinking, "Oh, Christine Baranski's in this."
And has a spoon hanging off of her nose.
a, v- a very cute young Christine Baranski. And the guy who talks about the rectal paintings is some sort of art critic. And Christine Baranski says something along the lines of, like, oh, because he says he, like, puts a paintbrush in his anus and squats over and does the painting. And she says, oh, that's how you do your critiques. And I was like,
Ew.
you got Baranski'd. You got Baranski'd.
Oh, that we could all experience being Baranski. It's really like a blink and you miss it, like, appearance by her, but she's a delight to have.
For anyone that doesn't know, we have hopped back into the world of Adrian Lyne, who
Mhm.
has done many of erotic thrillers. We've already talked about Fatal Attraction. This one actually comes before Fatal Attraction. He had just done Flashdance. They were trying to get him to do Chorus Line, and he chose to do this instead.
Instead of one singular sensation, he wanted to do this,
He went for
apparently.
something with multiple sensations.
Oh, hey, you got
I
honey, you got ice, you got, name the
Baranski!
thing.
cough syrup. Cough
Mm,
syrup.
Cough syrup,
that
throw a
was a
jalapeno.
choice. I was so worried when he was cutting that jalapeno while she was blindfolded, naked on the floor. Like, do not, wait, whoa, your fingers have been in pepper. No,
Oh,
don't do
yeah.
anything terrible. And surprisingly, this was a time when Mickey Rourke was not intending to torture her. Instead, he just fed it to her. Okay.
I gotta say, my OCD was going off in that scene.
It was it the honey? Because
It
I
was the
could not stop
honey.
thinking about it.
It was all the honey. So much honey was used. It was all over. I mean, do you know how much honey it takes to completely cover a person's legs? And she's a taller person as well. I think
Hmm.
she's like 5'8". It was a lot of honey.
And they left it for the freaking roommate to clean up. There's no way that they were
Exactly.
responsible.
Exactly.
So we will get to this scene, but let's
Okay,
start
let's
let's
go
start
back.
it. let's
Doodly
let's
doodly doodly. We are in a New York City '80s time capsule. There's squeegee men and porn stores in Times Square. We're
New
in the
York
meat and
is
fire district.
busy. It's
There's
busy.
some
There's people.
They must have paid so many extras because every frame is chock full of people.
And people are hooting and hollering at Kim Basinger. The
Yeah.
blue this what you learn in this movie, the blue collar man loves Kim Basinger.
I mean, that's just factually
It's true.
accurate. Like, pretty sure everyone loves Kim Basinger.
But so she works at an art gallery. She's selling paintings. She's like a salesperson at this
I
gallery. Is that her
I
job?
think so.
I think
I
she's like an
think so.
assistant or something because she was also choosing like where to hang things. So like anyway, it doesn't really matter. Point is she loves art. She's a cultured, classy lady. And everywhere she goes in New York, people catcall her.
And we know, she's recently or somewhat recently divorced within the last year or two,
Yep.
maybe
Correct.
even 3, I think it
Yes.
might say. And she just starts running into Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke
Yeah.
is just places.
I want you to know that I've been hanging on to this joke for so long, and if you don't appreciate it properly, I'm gonna be genuinely mad at you. But when
Big
they
setup.
meet in the grocery store, that's their meet cute with an
uh
MEAT because they're joking about the dead birds.
Which
Uh
as
huh.
they're in that grocery store, there's a pile of
Yeah.
birds. They want to buy all the
Pile of dead
birds.
yeah.
birds.
The guy's mad about it. It's your store. You sold them all. You're done.
I
What?
think it's because he knew they were making fun of him for having a plate full of dead birds at the counter. And I gotta say, like, normally when you have your meet cute, MEET, cute, um, like, you get some good banter, right, between your leads to show off their hot chemistry. But actually, she's doing all the bantering with her roommate. And they seem like they're having a great time. And Mickey Rourke is kind of hovering outside, like trying to get in on the jokes and failing. They do not let him in. And I just found it to be the most awkward. Like, I don't understand why she's immediately entranced with him, other than the fact that he's insanely beautiful, because they don't really spark with each other at all.
I think that was it. I mean, they said it all with their eyes, right? Like he looked at her and she looked at him and she was like, "This guy's like standing 2 inches away from my shoulder. This is so oddly hot to me."
As I
And
stare at a plate of dead birds.
exactly. And so
He
it was all in the eyes. There was no banter there, but it worked somehow, or it did for me.
Well, and they continue to not talk to each other throughout the entire movie. Like every
Right.
time one of them says something, the other one just lets it hang there in awkward silence. And that is every single conversation they have. Like he's from their very first date when he's spouting off fun mob facts to her and she seems completely uninterested in stories of who got whacked at this restaurant, all the way to like when she's asking him like personal questions and he just doesn't answer. They just don't interact with each other. It is purely 100% feral physical chemistry and nothing else.
I thought that was so interesting with the restaurant, though, where he's going on about the mob facts because he's obviously not talking about himself or telling her about himself. He maintains that air of mystery all
Mm,
throughout.
that's a good point.
if I don't know, between them, if you ever sensed a bit of awkwardness, Adrian Lyne liked to do that awful Stanley Kubrick thing where you
Oh
just
god.
torture somebody. And with
Until they act good.
this movie, he did that with Kim Basinger. They shot this whole movie in sequence and they kept the two of them apart
Right.
until they were shooting. So like any interaction you're seeing between them is like an actual recent interaction. It is as if they're really meeting for the first time in these scenes. And I think Mickey Rourke just exudes white man confidence.
I mean, that is for sure.
He sure does. He sure does. Well, I read further that the director Adrian was giving Mickey Rourke notes, like acting notes on the side, different performance notes, but he was not to Kim Basinger. He purposely wanted her to be as uncomfortable as possible in the scene, so she was going in cold.
Oh my god. You know that like it makes me crazy when directors are like, "Oh, the best way I can get a good performance out of an actor is to treat them like garbage." And
Right.
it's like, you know that it's like or I must make her uncomfortable in real life if she's going to look uncomfortable on the screen. It's like, you know there's a concept called acting, right? People go to school for it and they learn how to do it. You don't actually have to make them feel terrified or uncomfortable or upset or crying or whatever it is in order to like get the performance.
Yeah, like, I feel the same about directors that do that as I do, like, method actors. That seems
Mm.
fucking insufferable. Uh, other than an actor I do not like, but I do appreciate this, was Jared Leto in Morbius. You know what? If you're gonna
Shut the
method act,
fuck up, Garrett. No, you don't mean that.
I do. His character was disabled, so he was disabled on set, and when he would need to use the restroom, it would take him so fucking long that they had to come to an agreement that, like, "Okay, when you need to use the restroom, can we take you in a wheelchair?"
Oh my
Wow. I
god.
had no idea.
But
Well,
just to torture a woman for this movie
yeah.
Right?
is like, that being said, I liked the movie. I did enjoy this movie very much, but there's no reason to torture poor Kim Basinger for
Mm.
this.
No,
Mm-mm.
I don't think so. Unfortunately, so many actresses have that same story, and well, she does say this is probably one of her favorite films that she's been in. She definitely had some issues with how she was directed or lack thereof.
Jesus Christ. I mean, there's if you read up on this, there's a part in it where they're not getting the performance they wanted. So he has Mickey Rourke in real life, just off camera, making her cry, like grabs her by the arm. She smacks his face. Mickey Rourke fucking hits her.
Whoa!
Real life hits her in the face.
Oh,
Adrian
wow.
Lyne says, "All right, let's start shooting."
Oh, for
Whoa.
fuck's sake.
I had no idea.
Jesus
Like this
Christ, people.
this movie's fucked up. Like, I mean, we run into this a lot with this specific genre
Yeah.
where the female lead is very uncomfortable with something a shitty male director has done. And
Mm-hmm.
it does take a little of the fun. I mean, a lot of the fun, honestly. Like, because you watch the movie, you enjoy the movie, you read this after, you're like, that fucking
Oh.
sucks.
No, the thing that made me sad about this one after the fact was reading that it was based on a semi-true story. Jesus.
Do tell.
Oh, yeah. It's based
Yeah, it's
on
fucked up.
a semi-fictional memoir of someone who had this horrible toxic relationship, only it does not end the same way. Hers ended with her in the mental hospital and
Oh,
him just
wow.
walking away.
Wow.
Which is also how this movie ended. The original cut of this film was
No.
5 hours.
Oh my
Wow.
god.
They filmed so much stuff from this book because this so the fictional book is based off an actual memoir. Like, there are 2 books of this movie. There's a memoir where this shit happened, the more fictionalized version, which is what we're going off of. But, like, yeah, this woman ends up in a mental institution. Like, there's so much stuff on the cutting room floor of this movie that they took out because they wanted you to kind of like Mickey Rourke in this movie. Like, they wanted to make him at least a little likable.
It doesn't
Right.
work. I don't like him. I counted, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15 red flags before their second date was over.
Wow. Amazing.
Seriously. Seriously. I don't understand how she went home with this man ever.
So creepy, especially that first date where they go to that houseboat.
Mm-hmm.
And
And he's
here's something I
making
thought,
up the bed.
right, he starts making the bed. Before they even step in, though, what I thought was weird was they have strange fruit
Yes!
playing in the
Weirdest,
background.
weirdest music possible to seduce a woman. Holy shit, that's fucked up. That was one of my red flags.
Right? Like, it's a song about lynching in
Yeah.
the South, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering, what was going through the head of Adrian or the music supervisor or whoever it was who chose the music for that?
Unless that's from the memoir and some guy actually did
It's
this. God, I hope
possible.
not.
Yeah, adding that in is just showing from the beginning how creepy he is. Because as this movie goes on, like he is mentally controlling this woman. He is like feeding her. She can't do anything without him in this movie. But in that scene, I guess like maybe that's just like an opening, just like fucking with her. Because you
Well,
say
and then
he's
he
making
fucks
the
with her.
bed.
Yeah.
He's barely making the bed. What he's doing is putting a sheet over the top of the bed to have sex on his friend's bed and not ruin his comforter.
Which I guess is so thoughtful of him if you really think about it.
It's
He's a
really
real mensch.
considerate. Really
Yeah.
Which
considerate.
at the beginning of this, like, because I didn't read anything, so I'm just going in like, is this guy homeless? Like, are we like,
Right?
is this actually his friend's place? Like, did we just break into a houseboat?
Well, and he's
What?
saying things like, like, hey, I could murder you here and no one would ever know about it. No one would even hear you scream. And she's like, I think I need to go now. Uh,
Kind of the only time she really sort of asserts herself until the end of the movie,
yes,
which made me wonder, why did she accept a second date? Why was she so excited
because
about
he sent
meeting again?
flowers. You think flowers and a balloon is gonna
Pretty
win me
hot.
over after this? It will not.
He does this thing throughout the movie, and especially in this scene, like first red flag, like where he's telling her like, I could murder you and no one would hear you scream.
If
Uh
that's your first red flag, Garrett, you are not paying enough attention on your first dates, and I'm a little worried about your safety.
White man confidence. Um so he does this thing though that reminded me of I don't know if either of you've seen the David Wayne sketch comedy movie The 10, where it is the 10 commandments but each one is a different sketch essentially.
Nope.
And
No.
there's a doctor in it played by Ken Marino, and he's doing surgery on this woman. They go into the room and they look at she's very sick after the surgery, and you see that he has sewn a pair of surgical scissors into her, and she's very ill now. And Jason Sudeikis, her husband, is like, "You sewed scissors, you accidentally." Goes, "No, I didn't accidentally do it. It was a goof."
Uh,
No, and he's like, "You goofed?" He's like, "No, I didn't goof. It's a goof. I'm goofing." And like that was the vibe I got. Every time he'd do something fucked up to this woman, she'd
to
be like, "This,"
terrorize her.
she's like,
Right.
"I don't like this." And he'll be like, "It's just a goof."
Like putting her
Just
on the
to see
Ferris
how,
wheel
yeah.
alone to trap her up there and then walking away with the guy in charge while she's up there totally terrified. It's like I get like t- there's a line, right, of like playful teasing and fucking with each other and pushing each other's boundaries, right? Like that's a normal thing. And he rides that line and then he will just jump the fuck over it and then quickly back up like, no, I'm just riding the line, babe. What are you so worked up about?
He's like
Goofing.
5 miles across this line. Like, had
Yes.
your average self-respecting person, had somebody left you at the top of a Ferris wheel, would have been like, "Fuck you. I'm never gonna see you again."
If
But
you left her up there for like 5 seconds, right? And then you pretended like you were gonna walk away and then you actually fixed it and let her down. That's a
sure.
goof.
Sure.
Actually walking away and leaving her up there is no longer a goof.
Well, A, it tells us like what kind of a controlling guy he is, and he's
Mm.
testing her to see what he can get away with. And he obviously
Mhm.
found out in that scene he can get away with quite a bit. She was mad at him in the moment. As soon as she was down, all was forgiven.
Mm.
Was so right before the Ferris wheel thing though, I think was a red flag, and he gave her a bundle of balloons. Um, was that a red flag to you? To me, it's like, here, you hold this shit. She has to deal with that the rest of the day and pretend like she cares.
Why didn't didn't she give it to the kids when they saw the kids later? I
Not that
kept
Those
kid's
kids
fine.
were
expecting her.
bizarre.
They were so let's
It
talk
was such a
about that
strange scene.
scene.
Yeah, they cut so much stuff out of this movie, and they felt a thing we really needed to keep was the scene with the children.
With the
Like,
kid who claims that he can fart the theme from Jaws.
yes, and then doesn't.
Right.
He
Well,
farts
he
once. He gets one fart out,
and may have shit his pants. Like he had to
may or
work
may not
hard
have
on
shit
this.
his pants.
But if you notice, there are 3 references to Jaws in this movie, which all
I
Wait,
means a
caught
just
lot.
two.
wait. What were the other ones?
The
What's
first
yeah?
one
Which
was at
ones?
the dinner party where
Mhm.
somebody says, "Here's to
Swimming with bow-legged
swimming
women.
with bow-legged
Oh,
women."
yep.
There's that, the kid who can apparently fart the theme from Jaws, and
Mhm.
then after they're done with the kids, he starts doing the da 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 chasing her. So 3
Mm,
times, I feel like they're kind of saying like he's a predator. Watch out.
that's why they needed to keep the scene with the farting children in, is so that they could get that important thematic
It's
moment.
still a weird ass
It's a
scene.
weird scene.
You're right though. Like when you take into consideration they cut 3 hours of film, that is something that they're like, well, the people liked the farting. Uh,
They cut her robbing a person in an elevator apparently, but we really needed this kid who can't fart the theme from Jaws.
we're on their second date at that point. Let's see, where do
And he
we?
asks to blindfold her, and she's like, "What if I say no?" And he says basically, "Well, then you should leave," which is such manipulative behavior, right? Like, you either go all the way and do the very specific thing I want to do, or you get the fuck out. Like, no room for compromise here. And then the scene is actually quite sexy because it's the Ice Cube one. And it's all focused on foreplay. It's all focused on like the sensations that she is feeling. And like it's pretty sexy. Not gonna
I,
lie.
I gotta say, so in this scene, I was applauding John, Mickey Rourke's character, because not enough men concentrate on foreplay. They want to get right to the prize.
And
He
yeah,
values foreplay.
you know what? I feel like he values foreplay at the beginning of the movie, and by the end, he is not doing foreplay anymore.
Well,
Like
yeah,
his
that's
sex
true.
with her becomes more and more like aggressive and abrupt and like no foreplay, not focused on her pleasure at all. So I feel like this is him at the beginning of their relationship, is he's focused on that and making sure she enjoys it so that she wants to come back for more. And then once
That's
he's got her
true.
hooked, he doesn't care anymore.
And during like the first few scenes, like especially this one, it doesn't even say they had sex after that. Like
Mm.
it almost seems like the first couple sex scenes are actually just foreplay. Like he might have split after that.
In which case, leaving her all hot and bothered, wanting
Right.
more.
Same with me on my couch by the end of that scene. By the end of the Ice Cube scene, like it's like focused in on her navel and like a little drop of water's going in there. Next thing I know, I'm naked and blindfolded on the couch. And I realize like I'm texting my wife, like, hey, I think I'm in a throuple. Is that okay?
Is that
Uh,
okay? It's not with you. It is with Mickey Rourke and Kim Basinger. You, in fact, are not involved at all.
I actually shouted during this scene, Hiyam understands the assignment.
I can just hear you shouting at your television, Garrett, like, finish what you started. Finish what you started.
Like
Don't
a
leave
couple
me here.
a couple movies ago, I had to watch Donald Sutherland cry about his dead kid. And this I didn't get any of that. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
It was.
So from this, we cut to her looking at a painting that looks like Nosferatu post coitus.
I can't say that I agreed with her on the quality of this painting, and I don't know that I would have been won over by her argument. And I say this as someone who is a dog person, who loves my dog very much, saying, like, well, does your dog like the painting? would not convince me to buy a very expensive painting. I'm sorry. Like,
Your dog has terrible taste, though.
that's a really good point, Garrett. She is so lowbrow.
Can we talk about the art for just a minute?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the art throughout this movie is like very sexual. Like there's one of like a chastity belt, like it's like almost just
Mhm.
a photograph, not a
Right.
painting. But then when we finally see the artist towards the end of this movie, it's like it's
And he's an
almost
old
like
man with a fish? You talking about
he's
the old man with the fish?
yeah,
The dead
he's like out of a
fish.
Nicholas Sparks movie or something. It's like an old man with dementia who's kind of cute. Like what the fuck is this show?
They don't really go into it, right? They don't explain it very much. Like the chastity belt was a little on the nose. You kind of get that. But the rest of the paintings, I was not understanding if there was supposed to be some symbolism there or not. But they were pretty dark.
They're dark, a little like occasionally sexual, sometimes like even some demonic. And it didn't really seem like there was a full theme with the art I was looking at. But when you finally see the guy, you're like, him?
That
This for like this guy from Cocoon is the one doing all of this sex
guy?
painting?
I mean, yeah. The fish also makes me think, like, along with the Jaws references, there's a surprising number of fish references in this movie,
There
too.
are. There
Like, one of
are.
the opening shot of, like, them looking at the dying fish flopping around on the scale as they're walking through the market. What am I is she the dying fish?
I
I
think she
don't.
kind of is because so you see that in the fish market and you don't see it on camera, but you know they chop the fish's
Mhm.
head off. And then she goes to visit him, and for whatever reason, he's carrying a dead fish in his hands. It's symbolic of something, I'm sure. And then at the end, at the party,
Oh,
there's
yeah, the
like a
same
half-eaten
fish.
fish. Is it the same fish?
I don't
This fish
know.
is a hero's journey,
He
this fish.
brought his own. I love to think that like this guy showed up for his gallery opening and he presented to the caterers like, "Here, I brought my own fish," and they're like, "The fuck are we supposed to do with this?" I don't know. He's the artist. Make him happy. And I'm like real quick chopping it up, getting it filleted and
Carry it
ready.
around the show if they see how fucked up you are. The paintings will the value skyrocket.
Skyrocket.
It's like I
Um
found Nemo.
That's where he was.
that fish that they serve at the end, the whoever had to serve it was so nervous when they said action, now serve the fish. He like I mean I've watched that scene 3 times now before this podcast and like he just did such a poor job. He got so nervous and that's the take they used.
They
Uh
didn't have time to get a better one.
so after the painting, we go to Mickey Rourke's house where they talk about
His house.
television,
We have to
you know,
talk about his house. His
Yes.
minimalist.
like the most minimalist. I put that as another red flag. There's nowhere comfortable to sit in his entire apartment except his bed. That is a choice.
Actually, that's when he bought that like the thing that probably cost more than my car, that like teeter totter of a
Right.
Of a
couch.
bench couch thing.
You buy a shitty couch, they have to
Hmm.
sit on the bed. It's the
They
only
have to sit on
sturdy
the
piece
bed.
of furniture in the
Hmm.
place.
Is this when he gives her the watch?
Yeah.
Yes. And he's like, you got to think about me every time it
At
hits
noon,
12 o'clock.
right at lunchtime, you
Right at
And
gotta
she's
think
like,
lunchtime.
about me touching
yes,
you.
sir. Okay, sir.
Have you
Yeah.
guys run into a problem where now every day at noon you think about Mickey Rourke?
I
I,
mean, you
I
say
have a couple
problem,
times.
but is it really a problem, Garrett?
This scene I thought was they have a conversation about television too, where she's like, "My uncle died watching the '76 Olympics,"
Yeah, this
and
is another
yeah,
one of those conversations where they keep letting it drop on the other end, and he has nothing to say in response to her talking about her uncle in the '76 Olympics. It's like he wants her to stop talking so that they can fuck already, and so he's just not going to reply to a single thing she says.
Well, they both have different goals in the scene, right? Like she
Mm.
wants to get to know him and have her get to know her so she's more comfortable with the whole scenario, but he's not interested in that at all.
That's
He
the
lets her know
opposite of what he
exactly.
wants.
He lets her know time and again, this is sexual. We're not going to get to know each other here. We're not going to do any of this small talk. Let's just fuck.
Apparently, one of the many cut scenes was like them discussing like the rules of this relationship, and
A couple rules would have been nice. Yeah,
I
what were
feel
they?
like that would have been more interesting. I mean, I know, I understand that they probably cut it because they're like, that's too weird. But it's like, if I knew what she had agreed to up front, I would feel a lot more secure about like, this is a thing she definitely agreed to. Now he's pushing the boundary too far, right? Like, and I would feel like she had come into this not completely naive. Like, she recognizes what a chastity belt is. This woman's not unfamiliar with the concept of BDSM, but she like seems to get led into this like a naive young woman and like girl babe in the woods, right? Like she acts like she's never heard of any of this stuff before when she's with him. And I can't tell, I just feel like it would be more interesting if I knew which of her boundaries he was really violating and that she had enough agency to have set some in the first place instead of just walking in like an idiot.
I guess she wasn't allowed to have boundaries in a scenario like that. Like, there wasn't a safe word, even. There was none of
Oh no.
that.
That's true. But like, I don't know, throughout this movie, like, he does things that make her uncomfortable, but then he's like, "I'm not such a bad guy. Eat some soup in bed." Like he's feeding her, he's taking care of her. So
Yeah, but
she gets beat down, but then like, this soup's pretty good, even though he tucked this napkin into my shirt in bed and is feeding me like maybe the worst bed food.
yeah, seriously, soup in bed, not a great choice. But also, like, he clearly has a feeding her fetish. So, like, is it for her? Is it him taking care of her? Or is it another way for him to get off? Because, like, that is a thing he is into.
That's true. I didn't think of that, but that is definitely a fetish for him.
He was trying to do it on the very first date. He was trying to shove food in her face at the restaurant.
Oh, that's true. The spaghetti or whatever it was.
This is another thing where those rules would have come in handy, where basically you hear him say the titular line where he's like, 9.5 weeks. This is all the things we're gonna do. We're gonna hit 9 fetishes, 9.5 weeks. We're gonna work our way through them.
It was like a crescendo of embarrassment and fetishes and
Mm-hmm.
controlling behavior. The whole movie's like one big climax, if it were.
Ayo.
Ah.
Ayo.
It really is a roller coaster though, because it's just like it gradually gets shittier for her, and the food one seems fine. The ice cubes seem nice. Uh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the food thing seemed fine until it was cough syrup.
it's
My
So was
playful.
guy.
wasn't the cough syrup, but that was definitely a red flag for me because most cough syrup makes you drowsy, right?
He's trying to get her to robo trip.
It's a little that was definitely like red flaggy for me. I mean, she seemed cool with it, but I don't know.
Also, I just could not stop thinking about the fact that they had that fridge door open the entire
Yes.
time, and it
Yes.
bothered me
Yes.
so much.
I was like, they're basically defrosting the fridge right now, and they're gonna get insects from all
I
this honey.
I hope you don't have any like, chicken breast or anything in there cuz it is defrosted now.
At the start of this food scene, we go to her apartment. And she goes and wakes up her roommate and's like, "I've got a friend over." I'd be so pissed, by the way, if somebody came to wake me up and say, "Someone's here." But then they go and ruin all the food. And that next morning she's like, walks into just a fucked up kitchen and is like, "What the fuck? What happened to my honey?"
But then right after that, you find out that the roommate slept with Kim Basinger's ex. And I was like, fuck her. Let her clean all that honey up in the kitchen. What the fuck is wrong with you? Have some respect for the girl code.
Well, like nobody in her life seems to have boundaries, right? Like her roommate slash best friend slash coworker has no boundaries about that. The guy she's seeing, like she has no boundaries around anything in
She
her
said
life.
I couldn't help it, or and it's like, how, what do you mean you couldn't help it? You tripped and fell on his dick? Like, of course you could help it.
His name's Bruce. He's a musician. He's he's Bruce is. I didn't get that where she's like, you should go talk to your ex. He's really lonely. We got fucking divorced.
Yeah.
Bruce kick fucking rocks. Get out of here.
It just occurred to me that's the fourth Jaws reference because on set
The
they used to
Bruce!
call Jaws Bruce.
Oh my god.
Fourth Jaws
It's
reference.
Jaws all the way down.
To throw this out there real quick, when they're in the department store, another bizarre. I don't know if you watch it with subtitles, but they say over the loudspeaker, Jerry Bruckheimer, please come to
Yes,
the whatever department.
I did
I
not
did
note
catch that.
It's just, this is a movie of weird references and sexy people doing bad things.
Here's the
It's
thing though, like, she's like 3 dates into this relationship when her friends at work say, "You seem sad lately." Which to me is just like, that is prime honeymoon period. You were supposed to be like walking on air, and no, you seem sad lately.
why though? Like she's having so much fun in the evening. I mean, maybe she just like doesn't like going to work. She had a good night.
She
I
liked
think
work
that's what it
fine
is.
before.
And also, I'm gonna be sad at work the next day if somebody feeds me a bunch of milk and jalapenos the night before. Like, I have a very sensitive tummy.
Turns out she's lactose intolerant.
Oh no, she's got IBS. It's a big problem.
I was literally thinking that during that scene. I was like, I mean, I couldn't participate in that. I'm lactose intolerant.
And he never asked. Along
He
with
did not
boundaries, he
ask.
does not care about food sensitivities.
No.
Honestly, at that point, like the tuss is gonna help me sleep. Send that tuss right to my dome. That's very welcome.
There was a cutaway in that scene where he's opening a can. It's like a real close up of the can opener. And I was like, why am I turned on right now by a can opener? The whole scene was just sensual.
Yeah.
The music in this movie, absolute banger.
Yeah.
The soundtrack actually did better in the United States than the movie did,
I can see
which
why.
makes sense because it was hits, it was bangers, loved it. But yeah, that was, I don't know. I'm still into him at this point. Like I see the red flags, but I also see why she's staying.
Yeah.
I do not. But that's that's you, Garrett.
I've
But
got
yeah,
a
so we
type.
have her masturbating, thinking about him at 12 while watching
Yeah.
a slideshow. Great cinematography choice of having the like slideshow pictures speed up as she's climaxing. Loved that choice.
That was great. When you initially said thinking about him at 12, I thought you meant thinking about him as a 12-year-old boy. And that
Oh my
was
god. No.
What movie would have been out when he was 12 that he could have farted the theme to? He's farting the good, the bad, and the ugly theme or something.
Blah, blah, blah.
He's like, I love Ennio Morricone.
I love him
He is
best in toots.
Ugh.
Okay, so then I want to talk about is the part where he has to leave and he asks her to stay at his place. And it's like there's nothing for her to do there because this is a time without phones. And so she is bored out of her mind, and she like goes looking through his closet and she sees a picture of him with another woman. And then he calls and he's like, "Have you been snooping?" Because he clearly set her up, right? Am I the only one that interpreted
I
this
think
as like
so.
that was on purpose? He wanted
think
to
so.
be
Sure.
mad at her. He wanted to punish her.
I mean, everything's calculated with this guy. Like he knows what he's doing. He's got a book. We find out that, this isn't the first time he's done this. This is like, every 9.5 weeks he finds a new lady.
Drop the other one
Exactly.
off at the mental hospital, get a new one.
Revolving door.
And then then there's the rape. And it's like, Fawn, this is actual rape. And it is the first time we see penetration. Everything up until now has been like foreplay. The first time we see penetration, and he's straight up raping her.
So this was a big question in my head because when it started out, I was like, is this a rape scene? Is he raping her? At first, she didn't seem into it, and then she seemed into it. It's like, is this a rape scene? I mean, it kind of is.
It,
I feel like her getting into it was not his purpose or plan and was like an incidental side thing for him. He would have had sex with her whether she was into it or not.
we've still got 6.5 weeks at this point or something, like he's got to he he can't scare away already. I mean, and it started with violence. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to tell who hit the other first. It's like it is a Han Greedo moment, but
Right.
swings are thrown on both sides. They both do connect with each other. Like, he does strike this woman, which maybe this is the scene that it happened in real life. Who knows? That scene though, like, once again, she gets so into it that the focus in on the lip quiver.
Mm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
She was so
It's
good
like,
at that.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what Adrian Lyne was doing. She is a good actress. Like,
Yeah.
I
No,
don't think he got that out of her.
the lip quiver was just such a nice touch,
So good.
such a nice touch. But one thing that I found myself wondering, especially in that scene, but through the whole movie, is like, how much time do these people have on their hands? They just
Oh my
never seem
god.
to be very busy. She's like, sure,
So
I will hang
much.
out for hours at a time in your apartment while I wait for you. Like, why didn't she leave and go have a life and do something and be like, let's just catch up later?
Because she's
Because
like,
then he would have left her. If she didn't do every single thing he said, he would have kicked her to the curb, and she knew that.
he's too mesmerizing. She's, like he
Mhm.
said with the watches, she's hypnotized. She,
Hypnotized.
yeah. I don't know. She's too into it. Like, she likes this game. She's into the game. And in answer to the question, how much time does she have?
Yeah.
9.5 weeks.
Ah, damn it, Garrett.
I just walked right into that one.
You
no,
really
I'm
did.
sorry.
I did. Can we go back to the fridge scene for just a sec?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
Please.
did you guys see Hot Shots and how they expertly parodied this movie?
No.
I've definitely seen it. Don't remember. Is it in the first or second one?
The first one, they have a scene where Charlie Sheen comes over and he does the whole refrigerator eating foods thing and he fries an egg on her stomach. And it's like such good parody. It's so good.
Oh, excellent.
I saw it was also referenced in Seinfeld too. I'm assuming it's when George is eating and he's like sneaking food while he's having sex. I think it's that episode where they reference 9.5 weeks as well. Yeah, apparently this has been parodied a bunch of times, and I hadn't seen the
Parodied
movie, so now I'm
and
probably gonna.
copied. You like so many other erotic thrillers took inspiration from this one for sure.
I'm sure, yeah.
And while she is snooping around his apartment, that's where we find like pictures of other ladies, like things that he has done this before. Uh, from this scene, like this is where he takes her shopping and he's just buying things and like that. And she said, "Aren't you going to ask if I like this?" And he's like, "No,
Does not give a fuck.
nothing's about you at this point. Like, this is."
She smiled at that, like she liked that he said no,
Yeah,
which which I found
because
so interesting. It's like, why does she like that he doesn't care about her wants and desires or her opinions?
some part of her finds it sexy. Like she could be very happy in like a sane BDSM like consensual relationship, but instead she found this asshole. So this is what she has instead, I guess.
You saw her ex-husband Bruce. That guy looked fucking boring.
Yeah.
That's
Where do you
true.
want to go eat? I don't know. Where do you want to go eat? This guy's gonna tell you where you go eat. She likes that he's taking control.
That was exciting for her, yeah. I get Bruce did seem boring.
Yeah,
right
which
off the bat.
why the roommate is fucking Bruce of all things, I could not possibly say. It's not
Well,
worth ruining
she's
a friendship.
she's no Kim Basinger.
That is also a good point. But she did have that great scene where she had painted her toes and she was waddling around the apartment with the little dividers between her toes. I fell in love with the roommate after that bit.
Her roommate too. Maybe the first erotic moment in the whole movie is her cooking with the apron and just in a bra and apron. It
Oh
was
yeah.
I
And she's
forgot about
like
that.
watching the soap opera and being like, "Take it off. Take your shirt off."
Yeah, she's
so
the dirty one at the beginning. I forgot about that. They were kind of
Yeah, they
showing us
definitely
how
make
far she's
her.
come.
Yes, because she doesn't even own a vibrator. Her roommate makes fun of her for that. And it's like, okay, I get that she's supposed to be naive, but should she have to be that fucking naive? Come on.
She's like,
I think
honey, I'm about to
vibrators
get a human vibrator.
Hey,
His name is Mickey Rourke.
and you get a shot of those New York sex shops. Like in
oh
1984,
yeah.
that's scary. You can't just Amazon the rabbit. Like you have to
Hmm.
go to a place filled with scary people. You know, that's a whole day. That's a trip that you have to be mentally prepared for. She wasn't into it.
It's a whole
Um
thing.
so, so after he goes shopping, he's like brushing her hair and just like really like, I'm
Everything
gonna
he
take
does
care of
for
you.
her,
He's
no,
just
everything he does for her, every little bit of pampering, brushing her hair, all of that is stuff that gets him off. He never sacrifices for her, never does a single thing for her that doesn't arouse him. I swear to you. Like,
He
it is
treats her
all
like a
about him.
doll. She's like a doll
Yes.
to
yeah.
him.
That is what he wants. He wants her to be his little doll that he can come home and fuck. And
And as we say all of this, though, like everything that we're saying makes him seem way more unlikable than he actually seems on screen. Because, after a scene like this, we're like, this is fucking creepy. But then we go into just this like 80s music montage where they're playing the song Slave to Love.
I called
And
that the red flag montage.
like they go fucking a giant clock, Kit.
That part was pretty rad. I can't deny it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that was honestly just shot really well too. An interesting place
It
to be
was, yeah.
taken. Like, even if there wasn't sex, that seems like a cool date to go inside of a big clock.
You're not wrong.
It was a reminder that they had 9.5 weeks.
Hey,
Time is a ticking.
time, the watch, the giant clock. We got it. It's a
And
metaphor.
there's some sort of implication after the clock sex that she's sick, and that's when he feeds her the soup in bed. He's like, it's hot soup. It's good. Here, just
It's good.
fucking, you feed me soup in bed. I'm out. I am out. I think that's where I drew the line. I was like,
That's where
get
you
out.
drew the line?
Yes, ma'am.
I also love calling it clock sex. It's
Yeah.
got a ring to it.
It does have a nice snappy sort of ring to it. So like
New
in the
item on the bucket
montage,
list.
you can see that the sex is getting rougher. She doesn't look like in her face like she's enjoying it as much. There's no more lip quiver. It's a lot more aggressive on his part. And they're like always hitting each other. It seems like she's walking out on him a lot and then he's winning her back over. And it makes me wonder how often when you see what you just like think of as like that's these two people are in a really volatile relationship and they do not belong with each other, like how often is that one of them is making the other one crazy because he is making her crazy with the terrible things he does.
Is he though? I mean, I feel like for her still at this point in the movie, it's like crazy good. She's still into it.
Her friend said she seems sad. She is. She's just
I
not
think
well.
I think she's not. It's like when you're in a bad relationship, like there's probably an inner voice in there somewhere telling you, is this really working? But I don't think she's consciously acknowledging it yet at this point. Like at one point she asks him, "Did you treat the others this well?"
Mm.
Mm,
Which I thought was so telling about her
you think
psyche and like how she's
yes.
thinking, because she actually thinks he's treating her well
Mm-hmm.
because he buys her stuff sometimes or feeds her soup in bed. It's
And cross dresses her for
right. That was
funsies.
so weird. That
Yeah,
scene
we
was
have
so
to talk
weird.
about the cross dressing scene. No?
We gotta one thing before we get there, because there is a sex
Mm-hmm.
scene that I can't let pass.
Okay.
Um, After Soup, she goes and visits him at work, and this is what makes him mad, that leads to the cross-dressing scene,
Mm.
is that she does something that is not part of his plan. She
Brings
shows
him
up at work to
lunch.
talk. Yeah, she tries to bring him lunch, but
How dare
he
you?
ends up taking her downstairs to a diner. And at the diner, busy diner,
Right.
she gives him a hand job at the counter,
Yeah.
and a
Oh,
man sitting
right.
next
They
to
just
them
keep cutting to
sees
that
it.
guy.
Um, I was that guy 2 weeks ago.
Garrett!
I had to fit this story in somewhere in one of these episodes.
Please
Okay.
tell
I
it.
was that man. I can't. We have a Sydney Sweeney movie coming up that we're gonna do, but I can't wait this long. People had sex next to me in a movie theater.
And how did that
Like
make you feel, Garrett?
That's such an important question.
like the counterman. Like, this is great.
It was like, this is great, but also, like, why? Also, maybe stop, but also don't stop. He seemed
So
conflicted.
Yeah. He
I
did.
was too, because like it was distracting, but like they
I
weren't
want to watch the
talking.
movie.
I went to see the Sydney Sweeney movie Immaculate, and Sydney Sweeney, America's sweetheart right now,
Sure.
very large chested woman that gets everybody riled up. Um, I get into that movie. There's like a whatever Sierra Mist is called now commercial playing, lights up. This theater's mostly empty. 3 seats down from me. They are in the same recliner on top of each other, just going
Wow.
at it, making out. Movie starts and it just gradually escalates. The movie's like 80 minutes long. And like they never left the same seat. They were sideways in that recliner. And
Oh, wow.
the loudest thing was the smooching. They never talked. They pulled out a cell phone once, but it was just to take a picture of themselves.
Wow.
That is
And
fucked up.
she had the quietest, most polite orgasm anyone has ever had. Like, and I just like kind of keep looking over, like, is this like for real? Like,
Garrett,
why
why
did
were you sitting 3 seats away from them?
I bought the first ticket sold in that movie theater?
And you weren't moving.
They chose in a mostly empty theater to buy their seat. I say seats. Seat.
They probably got 2, shared one. But then the
Chose
thing
to
I
put it
found,
right next to you. They wanted you to watch.
Did they
the thing I
utilize
found rude
all 80
though.
minutes?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She did leave to go to the bathroom once, but I could tell that like it went through the whole cycle of
Wow.
like kissing to like over the pants stuff to under the pants stuff to
Mhm.
coitus to just intercourse. It like and at the end though, they started vaping. And I thought that was weird.
It's no weirder than a cigarette after sex. That's like a thing.
Vaping
That
is
is
so rude.
It
it's
is
so
pretty rude.
So rude.
we can move on though, but I had to say like I was counterman. It felt like this was the moment to tell my tale.
Thank you for sharing with
I
us.
am glad you shared.
Thank you. You're
Thank you for
very
being
welcome.
so
I'm
vulnerable in this
so
moment.
glad that you can really identify with one of the characters in this movie. I mean, it is a guy who's in literally 3 shots of the entire movie, but at least it's somebody that you can really
As
get
long as I'm not
perspective.
the Jaws farting kid, I'm happier to be this guy.
Okay,
So
so
let's move on to the best 7 minutes of film ever shot
okay,
in the history of
so
cinema.
she says she wishes she could experience what it's like to be one of the boys.
Yeah.
And so he sends her to a hotel room and has like a special surprise waiting for her. And it's a cross dressing supply kit, complete with fake mustache and weird little suit. And they go to, I guess, a gentleman's club, the type of place where you smoke cigars and drink and
Eat
talk
a
about.
steak. Yeah.
I don't know what you do there because I'm not allowed in, obviously.
There are women. It's just a restaurant. It's just a nice restaurant.
It's like a
So, why did she need to be dressed as a man again?
She
That
wanted to
was
feel like one of the boys.
he took that really to the extreme. It was more rhetorical. You'd think at some point she would have been like, I was really
I
just asking rhetorically.
yeah.
But so when she walks into this place, though, like fake mustache on, she is clearly still just an attractive woman
It's
Right.
Kim
in a
Basinger. You
tuxedo with a
can't
fake
hide
mustache.
her behind one fake mustache and tucking her hair up in a hat. Okay.
She looked
And
great.
So of course she
she
did.
she did. The mustache changed nothing. But the way she's acting throughout this, because he's describing having sex with her to her as if she's another man.
Mhm.
And like he kisses her and she's like doesn't want to draw attention as if it's going to blow their cover that she's not a pretty lady.
It's New York. These people have seen everything. They are not
Remember,
going to freak out.
New York is Gotham, and that's where they didn't know that Clark Kent was Superman, so it
It's
tracks.
a
It
city
all
of dumb
tracks.
duns.
I didn't consider that fact.
Same city.
Yeah.
Same
And
city.
It's
they didn't figure out that the only person who could afford a Batmobile is, I don't know, the only billionaire in town. Yeah, okay.
There
fair
you
enough.
go.
so this is just the start of my favorite 7 minutes of film ever shot. They walk out into the street and we get our every one of these movies that we've done, and if it takes place in the 80s, there is one F slur. And I always say the word F slur. I never use the word. I am going to ask Kit to say it, though, as a member of the LGBTQ community,
Yeah,
to
100%.
say it exactly how it's said in this movie, because I
Oh.
can't get it out of my head.
Was it like, faggots?
No,
Was it a little
it's more.
higher?
It's higher and more sing-songy with the word "hey"
Faggots!
in front of it.
Hey, faggots!
Yeah, like that. It's like, and they're walking
Garrett, do
down
you
the
want to
street.
do it for me? And then we'll cut it out and then we'll have me do it correctly.
I want to say it so bad because it seemed so fun
It's a trap.
to say, but not as a slur, just
It's
as
a
like
trap.
the
Just like,
the sing.
hey, faggots!
That's exact. You nailed it. There, you got it. You got it. That's how it's said. And she jumps in the street and's like, "Hey, get back here!"
And then
Biggest
they
overreaction.
Yeah. did come back there.
Like, I feel like a lot of my gay friends would just, if that happened in 2024, in the tone that was said to them from that car, would just respond like, "Hey,"
What up?
like,
Oh, hello to you too.
like it sounded like a greeting. It didn't even seem aggressive. But the car skids sideways, and they are now on the run through the scary part of New York, through alleyways, and then eventually into a little dungeon where the Ninja Turtles fight the
Yes.
Foot Clan. Like, it's wet, it's grimy, it's gross, and
Oh
now it
boy.
is Mickey Rourke. It's Kim Basinger versus two weird guys.
Mm-mm.
Kim immediately takes one down with a kick to the dick.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well, and gets his knife at one point and stabs him in the
correct.
ass a couple times.
Stabs him in the a-hole.
A-hole. I've
Was it
watched
in
it
the a-hole?
from what my perspective, that blade full disappears into
Ugh.
the center of his body.
I thought it was
Specific,
just like a
the-
butt cheek. I didn't realize she was aiming for the hole.
I mean, maybe she wasn't aiming for it. It's just like a natural, like sort of. It was drawn in by gravity to the
And-
force of the
It's like
butthole.
centripetal force of the
Yes,
knife.
sucking it in.
Right.
but the use of a prop knife made it seem way more violent because, the whole blade disappears. It's like a 4-inch blade straight in this guy's rectum.
And he's
And-
like, ow.
Rectum, hardly known. It's insane. It's the craziest thing. Like,
And
that-
even while they're running away, they can't stop trying to make out with each other, and then like the guys will show up and they have to keep running again. And I'm like, and he is smiling, like has this
Loves
manic
this.
grin on his face. He loves that they are being chased down by people who will absolutely murder them. They are about to get hate crimed, and this dude is having the time of his life.
if he was willing to go longer than 9.5 weeks, this may have turned into Joker and Harley Quinn.
I mean, seriously.
It's weird to me that, as you said, they cut 2 hours of this film out, this was a weird one for me. I was like, they purposely kept the scene in. I'm not quite sure why,
Oh,
because
it's
it's
the
a
hottest
little
scene.
different.
Nah, it's the hottest scene in the whole fucking movie when they
I mean,
fuck
the
under
sex,
that
yeah.
broken gutter and it's like pouring down rain on them.
Well, yeah.
God damn, it was so hot.
The
And
sex
like you
was hot, but the chase before it was just weird.
Bizarre. Bizarre.
but like
But
you
so
can't
was the
have the sex part if you don't have the explanation of how they got there.
well, this is like we kind of said, like this movie's a roller coaster. So like
Yeah.
we're almost to the peak and she's dressed as a woman as a man at a nice restaurant. Then the mean men come, she stabs an asshole, and then they start to it just we hit the peak. It goes the sex is
The
the
sex
we at the
there
end
is
of
the
the roller
best the
coaster.
sex has ever been or will ever be for them because they are riding that adrenaline high. And she's like getting into all kinds of crazy acrobatic positions and shit.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
So the sex was like hot and amazing, and I was like, this is a great scene, the sex part of it. But again, it set off my OCD. I was like, it's gotta be filthy.
Oh god,
Filthy where they
Grime.
are. I wouldn't have touched anything there.
Oh
Nothing.
no.
If it
Oh.
and God knows where that because it wasn't raining when they're running through the alley. And now it's like absolutely just pissing rain in New York City. Like that may have been a broken sewer pipe. I don't know
might have
what
been
that was.
actual
Oh,
piss.
oh, yeah.
That scene though, like man, like
It's so good.
It is.
that is they're brave. Like I had sex on a trampoline once and that was too much for me. Like I don't like that. Like these stairs look awful. I wouldn't find like the right footing.
None
I
of this is
it's
safe.
Well,
it
getting
is
her legs up the way she did, I was very impressed.
I'm very impressed.
it's kind of crazy because like she did use a body double through some of this movie, but then you get to scenes like this where it is just her.
Yeah.
Like what
Mhm.
is this is just does Mickey Rourke though doesn't show cheek, does he?
No.
Mm.
You
Son
can
of a
No,
bitch.
because
see anything.
he can't be vulnerable. It's a symbol of how he can't be vulnerable. She always has to be the one who's naked, not him.
I
He doesn't
didn't
own any casual clothes. This man, she looked in his
That's
closet. It is
true.
all suits and button-up shirts and pressed black pants. There's no casual clothing that this man will ever wear.
You're
Do
telling
you
me in
think he has
1984 there isn't a pair of Zubaz
No.
pants in a drawer somewhere?
Mm-mm. I don't know how this man works out to get that beautiful figure, but apparently he does it in a suit.
do you think he has a second home that's more normal?
Oh my
Like,
god,
in the
maybe.
restaurant when she's dressed up, don't they allude to something about him
Yes,
being
he says
married or
he
something like
says
that?
he says I have a side piece. He says I have this side piece, and and he's talking about her, which means that
Yeah.
she is the secondary relationship. And you're right, maybe he has a home in the suburbs, and this is where he goes when he's working, quote
That's what I was
unquote.
wondering when he called her the side piece. A, she was totally cool with that. She didn't flinch
Yeah,
at that once. And secondly, if she's the side piece, what else does he have going on?
I don't know.
I think that's
I
his
mean,
second home where he keeps his women, his side pieces, and he's got like a primary home, and that's where the khaki cargo shorts are.
Oh, and yeah.
he
Yes.
is a white
Yes.
man. There's
And
no escaping those cargo pants. You have to have them. It
and
comes with
Exactly.
your birth
all the
certificate.
comfy furniture is in that house.
Right. He
And yeah,
probably has a
television.
duvet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Speaking of duvets, we gotta go buy a bed. I
Yes.
don't know.
Let's talk
We gotta
about
buy a
that.
bed.
Let's talk about that
Paging Mr.
scene.
Bruckheimer. Mr. Bruckheimer.
Yeah, he encourages her to shoplift, even though he is a big fancy Wall Street boy.
An
And then
arbitrage man.
yeah, and then he needs to go buy a bed and make the mattress lady uncomfortable.
Did they
Why?
actually have
Mm.
sex in that scene? That was my big question. It was like leading up to it, but did they?
I don't know. It cuts away before you can really tell if they like how miserable they were willing to make that poor lady.
Did they consummate the bed?
Gotta try and get Adrian Lyne on here. He can answer.
It's got to be
He'd be
in
like,
that missing whatever hours of footage.
he's like, you didn't say such nice things about me at the beginning, but it also seemed like you kind of liked my movie.
I mean, I did like the movie, but also
I actually really like this movie. I wasn't
I don't
sure
like.
When was
because I hadn't seen it in like a couple decades, but
Mm.
no, I liked it just as much as the first time, if not more. I caught more this time.
like, yeah, it definitely seems like there is a different, darker, maybe better movie out there, but with presented with what I have, I enjoyed what I was given. Like, I liked that it is a little lighter than
Than
how
him
dark this could
actually
have been.
chaining her to the table and not letting her leave, which is apparently a thing that was in the original. And
Wow.
he doesn't stop at encouraging her to shoplift. Apparently they, and this is straight out of the book, he encourages her to, like, they're gonna go rob a guy in the elevator and they hold him at knife point, and then while she is holding him at knife point they start making out with each other.
I think I read about that, and the audience was like, "That that seems a
Ugh,
little too dark."
that's a little far for me.
I
The
saw that
rape was fine,
the
but
That's
the
fine
because
too.
one
elevator,
because once again the rape, like, we had to sit here and question whether or not it was.
yeah,
So in 1984,
They
nobody
weren't.
said shit about that.
yeah,
like,
probably
like,
not,
Probably not.
probably not.
Oh, and then there's the writing crop buying scene, as you alluded to in the intro.
Yeah,
yeah, uh, it's too much. I'm
That
not
was too
saying like for
much.
the movie. I'm just saying like he just tested the whip too long. He's just silently walking around the equestrian store, just like swinging it. Eventually, that little old man with the mustache just be like, "Okay, buy it or get out."
And the thing is, they could have gone to a sex shop and gotten a riding crop there, but no, he had to go to an equestrian store so he could make those people uncomfortable, because the sex shop people would not have been phased.
so my question is he trying to make them uncomfortable or her uncomfortable? Or
Why not
everybody
both?
involved?
You're right. Like it hit this point, like with the older lady that's selling them the bed, and now these guys. Because before he was at least normal in front of outside world people, but now he's just like, I mean, we're deeper into that 9.5, and we once again we don't know the rules. He's like, I'm gonna get fucking weird to everyone.
And she seems mostly to be going along with it. She doesn't seem that weirded out during the mattress scene. She's like, "Oh, come on. Like, stop it." But she
She
doesn't
was
seem all that
into it.
upset. Yeah.
She was into
And
that mattress scene. The riding crop thing, though, she seemed a little like over it in a way. She seemed a
Mm.
little annoyed, but maybe I just read it that way.
she completely no sold getting hit in the legs. You know, it just she got whipped and is just like still sitting there, legs crossed, very proper, as if it didn't just happen.
Right.
She's good at that.
Uh,
Oh, and then the striptease, which was amazing. I would say
Mickey
second.
Rourke's over the shoulder number was gorgeous.
That's what really
And
did it.
two, you can leave your hat on. God, it was so
It
good.
was it was just shot well. It was, I don't know. I like when these movies are competently shot. That ends up being a nice
It's a
little
little treat.
bonus.
The movie was well shot. I mean, they definitely did a lot of the 80s, like high key lighting, let's fog up the room, backlit. I mean, he used that in
Lights don't have to have
Flashdance.
lights don't have to have purpose. You don't have to have
Exactly.
motivation for your lighting. There doesn't have to be an
Exactly.
actual blue light in his room. It's
As
fine.
long as it looks good. And
Yeah.
Adrian Lyne is great at that, I think. Um I the second I heard the song You Can Keep Your Hat On, it reminded me of the Full Monty
Mm.
because that was the song
Mm.
they used at the end of the film, and I wonder if it was sort of a tip of
Oh.
the hat
Tip of the
to
hat.
tip of the hat to to 9.5 weeks. I don't know if it was or just a coincidence.
I don't
Yeah, I
know.
haven't seen that movie in a while. It could have been. I mean, because it seems like, I mean, this is a movie that, I'll be honest, I don't know if I'd even heard of this one until you recommended it. Like, I think when you said it, I had to look it up, and, um, when you said it was young Mickey Rourke, at the time, I had just seen young Mickey Rourke in Body Heat. So I was like, "Oh, I get to look at him more? Yeah,
Let's do
let's do
that.
Tick.
this."
He was beautiful. I mean, he was beautiful to look at.
Yeah. And then you put him next to Kim Basinger, and it's like,
Right.
my brain can't handle it. And she's up there like naked on the roof in the rain, and he
Oh my
goes
god.
up there with her.
Oh my god.
And no body double there for
Damn.
her. Like she turned her head, you know that's her.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, she went hard for this movie, and it's a big thing for us on this show that if, like, I am going to see the lead actress nude, the man has to, at the very least, show a little cheek.
Yeah.
And I didn't even consider until we were talking that it didn't happen.
Garrett, this is a man who, when he's like breaking down, she's about to really leave him for good this time, and he's like thinking he's going to actually share some personal piece of information about himself. He tells her his hometown, the jobs of his parents, and how many brothers he has. That's him being vulnerable. Of course, he does not show you cheek. That is not going to happen with this guy.
You know, he hasn't said anything this whole movie, so he really does have to start at the very beginning
He
of
really
basic,
does.
It's
like,
true. Yeah. It's like, oh, you have siblings. Okay.
Okay. Oh, all right.
'cause I mean, you basically did just get to the end of the movie. Like, other than that, like, the couple things that happen is he wants to humiliate her. She's crawling around on the floor to pick up money. Like, and then he's like whipping next to her. Doesn't like it. Just a goof.
It's always
Um,
just a goof until it isn't.
Oh, another motif I noticed was that there are cats throughout the film. Did you guys notice that? Like she has a cat,
No.
yeah,
I think, and then there's a cat in the alleyway, and I think at the weird old guy's house, Farnsworth. There are
Farnsworth. Yeah.
cats throughout, and then not to skip ahead too much, but at the end when he meets her at the Chelsea Hotel, and there's the other woman, she's like purring and scratching at her.
Oh,
Hmm.
shit. Dead
Even that cat in
fish,
the
shark,
alleyway has
cat.
the mouse in its mouth at one point too.
Oh,
Like,
shit.
Right.
it is like throughout. You're right. That does. I don't know what
I
he's
don't know.
saying to me. I don't know what that means.
I don't
And
know
honest to
either.
God, maybe it's an accident, but it should mean
It's
something.
not an accident. There's so much in here that is clearly very intentionally done that I do believe it is on purpose. But
Maybe
while we're talking about the Hotel Chelsea, uh yeah, let's get into that cuz that's where things really went off the goddamn rails, huh?
Are we led to believe she's waiting all day again for him to show up? She looked pretty bored in this hotel room.
Well, I was
She
like,
got
doesn't she
her
have
like
an event to be at?
yes. She does have
She's
an
got a
event to be at that
Farnsworth
night,
Yeah.
show.
but like the day of, I guess, instead of her getting stuff ready for the gallery, she's going to wait in the hotel, get instructions over the phone. And for some reason, even though it's to blindfold herself, which she's done before for him, she's not comfortable doing it this time. She doesn't do it.
We had the floor whipping before. Like, he's losing it. Like, he is visibly more scary than he was at the beginning of this movie, because we haven't really talked about this, but like, as far as this movie being a thriller, it's not really up until this point been one where somebody's in immediate danger other than just like a random alleyway encounter with an a-hole stabbing. like like everything is like psychological, where it's like, what is this man actually capable of, and what is the end game of all of this?
How far is
Is
she gonna get
Yeah.
sucked into this thing?
I felt like it was book-ended thrillerish. Like the middle wasn't so much of a thriller, but at the beginning, he puts the shawl around her and he says, "Don't say I didn't warn you."
Yeah, he
uh,
didn't. I
yeah.
noted that too. He did not warn her. It's not like he said, "I'm a bad dude. Don't say I didn't warn you." Like I didn't hear any warning. You just bought her a
Yeah,
$300 shawl. Is that a warning? What is it a warning of, my man?
exactly. I was like, "What's the warning? Tell us the warning."
It's like 3 hours of footage on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, maybe.
And then at the end, it gets thrillerish again because he's obviously like pushing his limits big time now. The whole Chelsea Hotel thing was super uncomfortable for her. So it kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah, there's now
went
like
full
a South
circle there.
American prostitute that as
Who
she's
does not seem to
blindfolded
speak
is
English at all.
and she's like rubbing on her. She gets uncomfortable. He starts making out with her.
Yeah, when she's like seems like she doesn't want a prostitute to be feeling her up because she's blindfolded. She realizes that there's a woman in the room that is like starting to feel her up. She gets uncomfortable. She takes the blindfold off. And so he starts like fucking the like he's gonna fuck the prostitute in front of her and he's like making eye contact with her, like, yeah, like this is the ultimate power move. And she freaks out and runs out.
It was hard to tell if it was a goof.
I don't think this one was a goof. And here's the thing, like, I won't kink shame anybody. Like, if this is what you're into, more power to
Cool.
you. But like
Yeah.
clearly this was not something they had ever discussed, not something she agreed to. It was pushing way past her boundaries, and so she like runs off into the porno district. Like she's right in the middle of Times Square porn central, and goes to like a peep show type deal where a bunch of men are standing around watching a couple have sex. I didn't know this was a thing. I wasn't there in
Um,
1984.
we'll just say it was a room of real cool guys. It was it was a room of guys who, when a woman came in, were very surprised to see a lady. It was
And one
other
of them
than
looked other than the one who's currently getting railed in front of them, you mean? But one guy does seem a little concerned. He keeps looking over at her like, "Who's this woman?" And hey, wait, is she crying?
is
Wait,
she gonna tell my wife?
is she crying? Why is she crying? Should I do something? Should I say something? I don't
So
know
I've
if I
never
should.
been to one of these sex rooms, but I found it odd how like all of these guys are just kind of standing there emotionless.
Fully clothed.
Nobody's fondling themselves or seems to be having a good time watching this peep show. It's very somber.
Yeah.
Yeah, like visually, like with the TVs and everything, it almost looked like a Nine Inch Nails video or something in there. But
Yeah.
with like a bunch of like, I wouldn't even say these guys necessarily like they're inherently creepy for being there, but it just looked like some guys who wandered into a show.
Right.
Like,
But they're
9.5
not
inch.
leaving. Yeah, she wandered onto the set of a a 9 inch nails con 9.5 week nail.
9.5 inch nail.
Yeah. And she like starts making out with a random guy who is just like, "Oh, hello."
He's like,
like
cool.
this fucking rules. He's like,
All
I've been here
right.
100 times and this has never happened.
Never once has Kim Basinger come in and started kissing me.
This isn't usually a good place to meet women. Like,
What?
the boys will never believe me. She was
Dear
a 10, I
Playboy.
swear she was a 10.
They're like,
You'll
sure,
never
Bob.
guess.
Sure.
Yeah. But even then, she doesn't. The making out with the stranger does not do it for her. She's clearly trying to make Mickey Rourke jealous, and she just gives up and starts crying again, and goes back to kissing Mickey Rourke. She's so confused right
She's
now.
very confused in this scene. I guess we finally found what her boundary was, though.
Yep, it was right there.
She was like, prostitutes, no.
Yeah, you fucking another woman in front of me
That's
is
a
a
no.
no.
Now we know.
Now we know.
And then, yeah, they just go back to, after the Farnsworth show, go back to his place, have a sleep on it, think this sucks. And
Yeah. And she wakes
she's
up
like,
the next morning and is just like, yeah.
I'm done. See ya.
Yeah, so we have to end with her last line of, "You knew it would be over when one of us said stop. You wouldn't say it, and I almost waited too long." And that's it. She walks out. And he looks sad. And so you're starting to think that maybe it meant more to him than it was supposed than you thought it did. Maybe he was more emotionally invested than he seemed to be, but it really wasn't enough. So I gotta just know, Garrett. This is the dumbest question I may have ever asked you.
Mm.
Were, were you aroused? Scale of 1 to 5.
Yes, ma'am. 5. I don't know if I feel like we talked because this one is high on eroticism. Like
Yeah.
there's so many like even when it's not like just in your face nudity, it's just well shot intimate scenes that are very sensual with two obviously very attractive leads.
Mm.
I don't know how to give this anything other than 5.
All right. Yum. What you got?
I'm gonna give it a 4.5 if I may,
Oh,
Oh,
because
point. Yes,
okay.
please.
I refer I saved the fives because I forgot the word that I was looking for. But I'm gonna save the 5 for films like Lust, Caution, or The Lover. Those films are
Okay.
like w- practically porns, but also manage to be sensual and erotic and stuff like that. I think this is just half a point under those films, but
Okay.
quite erotic.
That's a step.
Subjective.
No complaints. No complaints is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Kit.
um, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 5. The ice, the honey, the fucking in the gutter. I couldn't, you know what? Even though I didn't like Mickey Rourke at all, and I was not rooting for this relationship at all, and I wanted her to leave him, I still found everything, not everything, but I found most of what they did very sexy to look at, and what I'm only human. Garrett, were you thrilled 1 to 5?
This is hard because I mean, I saw an asshole get stabbed. Um,
If that doesn't do it for you, I don't know what
I-
will.
right?
like, I think the whole movie going without knowing what he's capable of, and I think also going in blind definitely raised the thrills. Because I don't know if this is technically an erotic thriller in that like it's not the same as like Fatal Attraction where there is immediate danger, where there is like essentially a killer on the there's somebody who's capable of murder. This guy did seem like it though. He had like
He was
I don't know.
talking about murdering her like within 20 minutes of meeting her, Garrett.
Yeah, but it was a goof. It was
As he's burying her body in the woods, it's a goof.
that is basically how the sketch in the 10 ends. He is in jail still saying it's a goof. Um yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and give it I'm in the 2.5 to 3 range because it's still like it isn't like there's no like jump scares or anything, but I was worried for her, her well being, her mental health. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'll go 3.
All right, fair, fair.
All right, you're up.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 on the thriller scale because I was genuinely worried for her in the beginning, especially on that houseboat where he was like, "There's no one for you to call. Nobody would know." That was when she got scared, I got scared for her. And then in the middle, I was thrilled in a different way. I was thrilled by all their crazy sex acts.
Hey,
Mm,
And then at the
yeah.
end, I was thrilled, well, by the sex acts as well. But also, like, how far is he gonna take this? Where is this going? All of that. So I'd give it a 4. It is not your typical thriller per se, but yeah, I found myself thrilled throughout.
yeah, I'm gonna agree. I don't. There's not a. I was not afraid that she would necessarily be physically harmed, but her mental health was definitely in danger, as shown by the fact that the alternate ending was that she ends up in a mental institution needing months of therapy to like fix what this guy managed to do to her in only 9.5 weeks. Like, I was worried about how badly this was going to go for her like how deep is she going to get sucked into? What horrible things that she doesn't actually want to do is he going to make her do? So I would put it at a 3.5 out of 5 because I was genuinely concerned. And I kept being like, in the same way when you're watching one where there's an actual murderer and you're like, oh my god, don't do that stupid thing, you're gonna get murdered. I was doing the same thing, but like, break up with him already. All right, would you ruin your life? Yeah, would you ruin your life for Mickey Rourke? Because
Ye-
dating Mickey Rourke in this would ruin your life.
I think this is maybe one of the first actual bad people in the movies we've done that I will answer yes to. He is such a handsome man, and he is going to push me to my limits, get me to do things I never knew I was capable of. I think at times I'm going to feel a sense of confidence that I've never had before. Um, yeah, yeah, he could get it out of me. He could get it out of me. I'd ruin my life for Mickey Rourke.
I feel like 20s me would have ruined my life for Mickey
Mm.
Rourke. My boundaries weren't as strong, self esteem wasn't as high. So I think I would have been a little more vulnerable to his good looks and his charm in the same way that Kim Basinger was. Now, I don't think so, but 20s me for sure.
I would not ruin my life for Mickey Rourke. I'm sorry. He's not really my type. I don't know. And those 15 red flags within the first 2 dates wasn't gonna do it. No, no, I don't care how many balloons he buys me.
But
You
have you
can leave
looked at him?
anytime. He's only got a few good years left in him at this point.
Yeah, so what? I should get in while the getting's good for those 9.5 weeks.
But have you seen his mad suit game?
I mean,
His
yes, I
fucking closet
have.
looked like Doug. Like Doug Funny. Like it was just the same set of clothes over and over again.
It was so sterile.
Yeah. Yeah, that I couldn't I just don't think no, I would not ruin my life for him. Would I ruin my life for Kim Basinger on the other hand? Yes, yes I would. Yes, Your Honor. 100%.
I think I would. I don't know if I know enough about. I guess I'm not like you can't really ruin your life with Kim Basinger.
No, she's gonna be a
She
perfectly delightful person.
she's gonna be delightful and like very agreeable, and
Yeah.
like she's down for. The thing is like what I would be wanting to do if I were with Kim Basinger is so light in comparison.
Mm.
As far as just like going out into the world and enjoying life, that I think she would be a delight. I don't know much about the character. It feels like though.
Oh no, I knew exactly who she was the first time we saw her sitting on the curb. Like the way she sat on that curb with her legs spread wide and like her head down, like I was like, I get this girl. I know her. And then when she got all delighted when she saw the little chicken, the
Yeah.
mechanical chicken that spat out little eggs, and she like had that childlike glee. I was like,
That was
this
not
girl and
cute.
I.
I
What?
I was wondering about that scene because I was like, she's way too excited about this. But it kind of
They.
goes to show like her childlike vulnerability that she went
Mm-hmm.
into this whole thing. But when I was looking at it just as it was in that scene, I was like, she's a little too excited about that. That's weird.
I was like, she
No.
might be an idiot. And I
What?
thought that so early in the movie. She's like clapping at a mechanical chicken
I would
that
have
like
done the
poops an
same
egg.
thing, Garrett.
And I don't want to be mean, but
God
I
damn it. Yeah, what?
I
What do you got
keyed,
to
I
say?
keyed.
No, I thought that it was a really great example because like they showed her like haggling over the price of the shawl and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, so she's like they're trying to show that she's both like a little bit street smart, but a little bit naive and childlike, and will get easily swept up in her emotions. And I thought it was a really good bit of characterization.
Also, $300 for a shawl in
What
1984?
the
Good
fuck?
God.
I was like, is there
Especially
gold in it?
especially when you're not even buying it at like a boutique in a fancy,
This is a
Saks Fifth Avenue.
knockoff.
Like this is a knockoff. This is a market, an open air market.
Right. It's like, how is
I
this $300? Like inflation, what is that today? Like a $1,200 shawl?
I'm pretty
I
sure
literally
that
wrote
shawl
in here
costs
like
$1 million.
this thing is more than like mortgage to a house in 2024. Like this is I actually looking at my notes and I see $300 Shaw in 1984. Get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out is right though.
I mean, even
I
the mechanical chicken was like $30. Like, what the fuck?
sure, I mean,
Yeah.
but that chicken can poop out a little egg, so I think it's worth it.
Okay.
Shut up. But yeah, like I also loved just as far as like characterization of her goes, like all the times we talked about how she gets catcalled all the time, and so does her friend. They get catcalled everywhere they go, and like their way of dealing with it is always to like deflect and make the guy feel like comfortable and like don't engage and don't. It's only when she's dressed as a man that she feels like she can like be aggressive with a man and go after the guy who called them the F slur, right? But when she's a woman, she's always deferring and always like laughing off when men do things that are inappropriate. And so it sets it up like this is why shit like this happens, is because women are taught to ignore their own boundaries. And it happens to her, it happens to her friend. And like that's how you end up in a situation like this.
I never noticed that, but that's a really good point. I mean, I think we've definitely established that she's a people pleaser to an extreme.
Mm. We've I think with that about wraps it up on this one. Hiyam, thanks for oh, do you have another thought?
I have one more thought.
Please.
Would you ruin your life for Kim Basinger's hair in this film?
Oh man. Oh man.
Because her hair was 80s fabulousness.
It was 80s fabulousness. And you know what? I would. Because by ruin your life, what you mean is, would I try to rock that same hairstyle and fail at it miserably? And the answer is 100% yes. Would ruin my life.
I second that. I would also attempt that hairstyle and then realize my hair's way too curly for that hair.
Yep.
But who cares? Because it's 80s fabulousness and she rocks it the whole movie. It's
The
so
whole
good.
time. She
I
looks
would ruin my
amazing.
life for that hairdo.
Yeah, those bangs, like she killed some bangs in that movie.
Yeah.
Like the opening scene's the only time you see her without them, and yeah, no, hair. I mean, yeah, yeah. I'm on board. I'm on board. I want that hairstyle. Give me the Rachel.
I think you would look really fabulous with that hair, Garrett. I think you could really pull it off.
That's you taking me to a restaurant with me in a Kim Basinger wig, and I'm pretending to be a lady.
Yes, let's do
Don't
that.
draw attention to us. Don't draw attention.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope I get to be there for that.
Yeah.
You're
can
invited.
It's like a special
We'll
moment.
figure it out. Yeah.
I just couldn't leave this without talking about that amazing hair.
Well, thank you for coming. I do appreciate you. I very much appreciate you choosing this movie.
Hell
I
yeah.
hope you had a good time. And if you had a good enough time with this, it would be fun to eventually have you back to do a worse movie called Another 9.5 Weeks.
Oh my gosh, I knew they made a sequel at some point, but I have never seen it. But I am
There's
so
3?
down. There's 3?
There's 3. There's the
There's
first
3?
9.5 weeks, which
is
is
a
more
prequel?
recent.
Is that a prequel?
But
What?
Another 9.5 Weeks is called Love in Paris. It was changed to Another 9.5 Weeks in the US. It's straight to video. Mickey Rourke is in it, and his face is already changed a little bit. 1997.
Oh,
So
let's. Oh,
Wow.
let's, please.
Count me in. I heard these films were super popular in France.
this movie made $100 million worldwide, but it made 7 in the US. This movie was a bomb.
I don't
The
understand
Europeans
how. Like, how did
You-
people see Kim Basinger and Mickey Rourke on the poster and not be like, I'll show up. I don't care what it's about.
I think that people got carried away with how bad they thought this movie was. Like I saw that Ebert gave it like a 4.5 out of 5, or maybe a 3.5 out of 4, or a 4.5 out of 5, whatever their scale is. But like Kim Basinger got nominated for a Razzie for her performance in
No
this, and I think that
way.
seems outlandish.
No
That does
way.
seem
She's doing,
outlandish.
she's doing a fantastic job. I
She
never
did
trust
great.
the Razzies.
Yeah, I don't like it. No, like we've definitely watched some bad movies on here, but with this one, at no point, like there's bad elements to it, but I at no point is the acting like so campy or so
Mm-mm.
unbelievable. Like it's actually probably one of the more believably acted movies we've watched on this show.
I thought they both did a great job.
It's certainly no, what is it, Meridian call
Meridian,
call of the beast,
the kiss of the beast, yeah.
kiss of the beast.
Which, yeah, I just saw a trailer for a movie about a video store called Kim's Video, I believe in New York, and it was known for carrying weird movies. And in a long shot, I saw the case to Meridian on a shelf in that trailer.
God
Lost my
bless.
mind. All right, Ian, thanks for so much for coming. We would love to have you back. Um, do you have anything like typically I say like, do you have anything to promote? Do you have anything that you want to?
I don't have a lot to promote. I am a master certified life coach now, but it doesn't
Ooh.
relate too
Ooh,
much to this, so I don't know whether to
yeah.
promote it or not. I
If
might
you're
leave
in a
it out.
relationship,
Yeah.
like this one, actually no, go get
Yeah,
go get a therapist.
you
Like,
definitely need a therapist if you're in a relationship like this,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, so nothing to promote today. I'll keep that out of it, but I would love to come again,
Hey,
as
Ah.
it were. Eh.
No, we'd be happy to have you back. Everybody,
honored.
thanks for listening. As always, thanks to Coed Pageant for our theme song. Thanks to Two Flame Pictures for the photo you see when you listen to our show. We are at Erotic Thriller Club on Instagram. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, shoot us an email at eroticthrillerclub@gmail.com. Kit, anything
No, it's time for you to say the thing, and you
that
have to
makes
do it.
everybody uncomfortable?
The thing that makes me and everyone deeply upset. Go for it, my boy.
Do it.
Thank you for listening. We love you. We want to shake you naked and eat you alive.